Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 75th episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy, joined by Connor Gray and Andrew Santangelo. We have a lot to get to today. College football is officially here today. Technically, if you follow NAIA, we do have games today. Also, we have some NBA news to get to, some trades, some injuries, and a whole lot more, so stay tuned. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below, comment what your predictions are for some of these college football Week 0 games. And now, on to the show. So, as we turn over to the official start of college football season, so many things going on today, I want to start with the same question we always do. How are you two doing today, Connor and Andrew?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing very well. Busy, but very well, and excited to kind of continue to plug through this end of August and into September.
I'm just happy college football's back.
That is true. It is back officially today. Like I said, if you care about NAIA games, they started 39 minutes ago. So there you go. I don't remember who it is, but apparently there are games on. I saw that earlier today. But we have more pressing matters to get to than NAIA football because Chet Holmgren, the Thunder rookie, is officially out the entire season with a Lisfranc injury to his right foot that he suffered during a Pro-Am game. And my goodness, this is what we said could be a problem with Chet, was injury concerns with his frame and how he's built. And unfortunately, that has come to light. So we knew the Thunder were going to be an intriguing team this year with what you're trying to build. You're starting to get towards that team building. You have your rookie to build around. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You have Josh Giddey. And now you got to take a step back again because here you are. So the question, I know Connor and I, we were talking about it, you're probably in tank mode again at this point, I would think. You got to get that race for Wembanyama. That's the whole battle now. Victor Wembanyama, the number one projected pick out of France. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be an absolute ride here. So I want to get your two's opinion on this and see what you think about this situation.
I'll let the Thunder fans start first.
Well, it's how I look at it is Thunder weren't necessarily trying to tank even last year. They just couldn't win games a lot of the time. But obviously, when they got near the end of the year, they just went screw it and start tanking. But it's just one of those things, like, they invested in a lot of the guys that they drafted. I'm like, I don't see them trying to necessarily tank for whatever.
Wembanyama.
Yeah, I'm not going to even attempt to say that. But they're not going to – I don't think they're going to try their so hard to tank for them. More if they end up tanking, it's going to be because they can't win. When that's basically it's going to come down to a lot of the time. It's like they're going to try to compete most of this year, and if they just struggle, they're probably then will decide just to kind of give up.
Unfortunately for the Thunder, this happens. Unfortunately, it's also this is why I said I wouldn't even take Chet in the top 10. Like, I don't think he's built for obviously his talent's there with the shooting and obviously his defense, but like you mentioned, Kate, at the top, like, his frame just scared me from day one. And he's getting hurt in this game. This isn't even an NBA game. And he's out there again. This injury, unfortunately. So this is what scared me, and that's why I would have avoided that, especially at number 2. But here's the thing: I think the Thunder had a very good offseason and pretty much aced that draft. So I don't think they're going to be bad enough to be a top, like, the worst team in the draft. We can make all the jokes about tanking, but no, I think in terms of the Thunder's future of the season. We saw them battle a little bit last year, and some of those guys got another year under their belt, and I think this team's better than the worst team in the league. So I'd still see them probably around top 5, but it's gonna be tough for them to get that first pick. But no, it's a shame. It's a shame to see. I said it when I said I hope he proves me wrong. Hopefully, again, it's only 1 year, obviously, in his rookie season, but no, hopefully he can come back completely healthy, and again, hopefully he gets out there and proves me wrong. But unfortunately, this is why I would have been hesitant to get him.
Yeah, but then Sam Presti, general manager for the Thunder, saying, certainly we're disappointed for Chet, especially given the excitement he had about getting on the floor with his teammates this season. He then went on to say later, something positive will come from this. So still optimism at an all-time high, you could say, in Oklahoma City with what they're putting together here.
Yeah, I heard those same words, though, when Ben Simmons was out for season with a foot injury his first year.
And that's something I wanted to talk about. There were 3 notable players I saw on this list now that someone said of top 3 picks that have gotten injured. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and now Chet Holmgren. So, I mean, that's a pretty wide spectrum of players, but they all fall in that 6'11" or taller category.
Hopefully it turns out better, like on the Embiid side of things for the Thunder than the Simmons
That's
side.
basically what we're all going to be hoping for, is that he ends up having more like ends up being like Embiid, where he actually is really good, not Ben Simmons, who can only do so little and then is overrated and gets paid too much money.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. But we have some more lighthearted, interesting news, I guess is the best way to put it, because Patrick Beverley is now a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. He was traded there from the Jazz. The Lakers sent Talen Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson to the Jazz. I just find this funny for 2 reasons. Number one, we have Beverley and Westbrook on the same team. That is going to be absolutely must-watch TV or must-follow Twitter, whatever you want to say. There's going to be so many weird locker room drama potential scenarios there with those two who do not like each other, at least as far as I know. And the other thing is, do we remember 2 off seasons ago, even last off season, where Talen Horton-Tucker was this amazing centerpiece for nearly every Lakers trade potentially? Like every trade involved him, and congratulations, you finally moved him to get Patrick Beverley.
But yeah, I love this deal, though. I know, honestly, for the Lakers. Yeah, 2 younger guys that weren't going to make it with this team, I mean, at this point, and you had to do something with them. And you went out, got a veteran guard. Obviously, I understand Beverley and Westbrook could butt heads, and it could turn ugly. But here's the thing. I still wouldn't be surprised if Westbrook's moved at some point through the season. I just think it's not working there, and obviously they'll probably give it to the start of the season, see how the season goes, and then try to move him. But the Lakers, we talked about in the last show when we were messing around with the Mitchell trade and everything, where's the best fit for him? Lakers needed a veteran guard. I mean, they're short on the guard depth. We talked about it then, and here you get a veteran guard who's going to go out, give his all. And honestly, if Westbrook struggles, Beverly's not a bad replacement for Westbrook there in that case. He'll be able to shoot a little better. He'll be able to play better defense. Obviously, the handles won't be there as much, but I mean, at this point, if Westbrook struggles as bad as he did last year, you can make the case, which is crazy to say because I used to love Westbrook when he was with the Thunder. I always thought he was one of the best guards in the league, but all of a sudden, you could make the case where Beverly might be just as good as him if he comes out and does the same type of year as last year. So, again, while the fit is going to be funny, and we'll see if they both try to squeeze him, or see if they try to squeeze him in the starting lineup, it didn't seem like they were going to get Dennis Schroeder back. I mean, there's rumors they're trying, but to me, this means they're going to move on from him. But no, great pickup there for the Lakers. And, again, I don't really think you lose a whole lot from where the Lakers stand. I mean, let's face it, LeBron's, much as it's going to stink to see him leave the league, he's on the back end of his career, obviously. So they needed to make a win-now move trade, and Patrick Beverley gives you a better chance to win the NBA Finals than Stanley Johnson and Horton Tucker do.
And then moving on to our final piece of news today before we get into the main focus of the show, we have more brawls at joint practices. I don't know why this is a thing this year, more often than I can remember, but we have another one with the Rams and the Bengals, a practice rematch, I guess, of the Super Bowl. And Aaron Donald decided to, as you can see in the picture here, he was dual-wielding Bengals helmets trying to clobber people. He was pulling a Myles Garrett, I guess you could say. Just absolutely chaotic from what I heard. Interesting. I don't know why this keeps happening. Why do we keep having brawls in joint practices? I've never heard of this happening as much as it has this season.
Well, it usually just stems from little tiny things that happen through the practice, and it just kind of just builds up. It just because in high school, which usually doesn't happen, when we had a camp in Cleveland, and Cleveland, Oklahoma to be specific, we got in a brawl with them, the Tigers. And mainly because that team kept brawled with like 4 other teams that were there. So it's just little dumb things that happen that cause fights to break out. But my thing is just with Aaron Donald, that man just has like one generational talent. Man has a lot of anger issues. Like, the man basically is like he's choke guys out on the field during the game. He's done all types of stuff before, during, or after a play. So it's just I know this probably wasn't necessarily stemmed directly to him because obviously everyone got involved with the brawl, but still, it's one of those things like, I don't know. It's like one thing you just don't do. You don't take a guy's helmet and swing with it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no business for that. I mean, there's no matter what happens on the I mean, you basically can call it a weapon, like with how hard those helmets are. Yeah. There's no reason to swing one at someone. I said the same thing when the Garrett and Rudolph incident happened, and I don't know. It always surprises me that these teams like joint practices. I get you want to try some of your plays out on other teams, but to me, you're about to go play them in a preseason game. You don't need to the Eagles are practicing with the Dolphins. I don't know how many days they're practicing. The Bengals and Rams. But I mean, I know the Eagles and Dolphins were practicing for 3 straight days before their preseason game. Like, I mean, to me, it doesn't make much sense to me. Like, you're gonna go out there and play each other on whatever Thursday, Friday night. There's no I mean, think about how you're supposed to go out there and play a game now tomorrow if the game's tomorrow or Saturday. Like, you just had this giant brawl, swinging helmets at each other. Like, and now you're supposed to go out there and play tomorrow night. Like, some of these guys are probably concussed after getting hit with the helmet and everything, especially with Aaron Darnold swinging it. So I don't know. Again, it's gonna be interesting to see how it backfires in terms of our team's gonna be more, because like you said, Kate, there's been a lot of fights this year. So is it gonna change the mindset of joint practices next season? Is it gonna keep it the same? Maybe you limit it to one day, maybe just one day before the preseason game. I could see that maybe happening, but I also don't think. I get it. You think you're behind it, but it wouldn't be surprised me if this stemmed from the Super Bowl last year. Like, that's what's kind of funny to think of. Like, or not funny, but that's kind of where I think it might have stemmed from. Is these guys were just on the field back in February. They went out and played for the championship of the NFL last year. Like, to me, obviously there's probably still some bad blood from that year. Like, to me, I was surprised to see these two teams doing a joint practice just because of that last year. Like, you think they would still need time. I mean, you heard. I mean, I forget who it was. Somebody on the Bucks. They were talking about it when they went over after the NBA Finals and had to play with USA, and they were the teammates after playing each other in the finals. And it was kind of hard to do because you just went out and played a 7-game series with them, battling it out every day, fighting for that title. And one of you came out winner, one of you came out losers, and that's the same thing here. It's still. I mean, they're not over it. So. And obviously now they gotta go play a game here tomorrow night. So we'll see. I know all eyes might be the most watched preseason game.
It might be, other than, Tom Brady returning and going up against Matt Ryan for the Colts. That'll be another interesting preseason game as well. But looking here, the official incident started with a Rams defender who was unable to be identified from a distance, was engaged with Bengals right tackle La'el Collins. The defender had Collins wrapped up from behind, arms around his chest, seconds after Joe Mixon was a few yards downfield for Cincinnati. Collins took exception, swung punches once he was free. This sparked a massive fracas that drew several whistles and flags from the officiating crew. What a surprise. And then multiple helmets were removed with a Cincinnati Enquirer photo, a photographer showing the picture we saw earlier with Aaron Donald wielding 2 Bengals helmets, one in each hand, and then a video appeared on Twitter with Aaron Donald swinging helmets at people. And, of course, what a shocker, the Rams and Donald declined to comment.
Yeah, so let me ask you guys this. What's your suspension for him? I mean, he's getting suspended. He's swinging helmets at people.
Probably 4 or 5 games, maybe 6.
Because if you remember, Myles Garrett got a ban at first before he appealed and they re-looked at it. So, I mean, if you're playing the same game, you gotta give Darnold at least 6 games.
I would think so. I think you got to give him 6 games or something similar to what Garrett got. That's what I think is probably the best case.
I will say you need to also suspend the Cincinnati linemen and the other defensive
yeah, absolutely. I was just talking since he was obviously the one.
Yeah, but it's like for them, they'll probably get like 3-4 games, but Donald needs more because he swung helmet.
Well, and to your point earlier, Connor, this isn't his first thing in the NFL. Nope. So you're going to punish him. I mean, you're going to hold that against him. That's the same thing with Garrett. That wasn't his first incident, so he got a little bit of a higher standard. So same thing here. This is not his first incident in the NFL, so I get he's arguably, if not the best defender in the league, but you can't take that lightly with an incident like this.
You absolutely cannot. We're going to take a little diversion from what our main thing is because we can talk a little bit about baseball. We got some baseball going on earlier today. Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina playing their last game at Wrigley Field as a part of the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry. We can talk about that a little bit, I guess, if we want to. The chase for 700. Paul Goldschmidt now trying to get a triple crown. There's all sorts of fun things going on in the Cardinals land. But looking at the American League, I mean, it keeps shrinking, folks. It's down to 7 games now for the Yankees. The Rays are slowly catching them. Blue Jays still 8 games behind. Orioles still with a 64-59 record. Just shout out to the Orioles again. We got to keep shouting them out. They're doing good. It's weird saying that. And then the Red Sox at 60-64, wrapping up the AL East. You look at the Central, the Guardians now have a 4-game lead over both the Twins and the White Sox, and the Royals and Tigers continue to stay way below 500. You move on to the AL West. The Astros with a 12.5-game lead now over the Mariners, with the Rangers 10 games behind Seattle, and everything slowly falling into place there with the Angels and the A's. So looking at the American League now, I know we just talked about it a few days ago. Any real major movements, impressions, anything of the last few days?
Yeah, absolutely. Guardians gaining ground, and we talked about it on Tuesday. I think they were only 2 up. You had the Twins dropping 5 straight. They're in danger of losing Carlos Correa now in the offseason if they don't quickly get their act together. So that could just stem more than the end of this year drought is you're going to end up losing your best, arguably one of your best players. And then, I mean, listen, I'm not saying they're as a surprise as the Orioles are, but Guardians were not supposed to be even top 2 in this division, and here they are about to go win it. And I think that deserves a shout-out as well. Again, I know they weren't supposed to be as bad as Baltimore, but they weren't supposed to be a playoff team. Like everyone picked Chicago to win this division and Minnesota to be right behind them and everything. So, no, shout out to Cleveland for finding a way. And, I mean, Terry Francona's got to be right up there for AL Manager of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Especially after coming back from surgery or something like that.
The other thing I want to get to is I know I made fun of the Yankees a lot for the slump they've been in. I mean, they beat the Mets back-to-back nights. That's difficult to do. So they're trying to get into a groove, I guess is the better way to say it.
No, absolutely. Yankees are an interesting team right now. They're going through a tough spot. The Mets are also an interesting team. They've kind of been up and down. It's funny. I feel like every time we talk about baseball, it's, the Braves are 8 games back from the Mets. And then next time we talk about it, they're 3 games back from the Mets. And then they go back to 8. So we'll see where we're at there. But no, Yankees took advantage of the Mets there in that Subway Series. And we'll see how they do. But, I mean, Mets, that was a good win. Because I think they faced Scherzer and DeGrom, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe just one of them. But I think they faced some of the top-tier Mets pitching. So for them to go out and get 2 wins against them was a pretty good spot there for the Yankees.
Yep.
And then looking at the NL East, there's that gap. 1.5 games now separate the Mets and the Braves. Braves are 8 of their last 10, and the Mets are only 4 of their last 10. So there's where your ground is being gained. And then the Phillies, just 8 games back from the Braves, just hanging in there, being the Phillies, doing Phillies things. And then the Cardinals now with a 6-game lead over the Brewers. Man, the Brewers have just completely fallen off. And I mean, in every way. I was looking at it that attendance is going down, everything's going down for the Brewers. They're in a complete spiral.
They're just not that good of a team, and they traded one. Or he's been struggling big time, but they traded at the time one of the better closers in the game. So they really don't have a back end of the bullpen anymore. Christian Yelich just isn't what he used to be.
He just kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, and ever since his MVP year, and I mean, I've been saying the Brewers have never been a team I can trust, and no, they've knocked themselves pretty much out of the division race, and they'll soon knock themselves out of the wild card race as well.
I mean, that's why for years when they probably should have gotten over the hump in particular postseason series, they just let it go and drop games that they shouldn't have dropped.
Yeah, and no, I mean, Milwaukee was, for some people, a World Series favorite, at least to get to the game or series, and here they are not even going to make the playoffs. I mean, they have some good pitching at the top and Corbin Burns, but that's pretty much it. Everything else is kind of up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at the NL West, the Dodgers with a 19.5-game lead now over the Padres. Then the Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies creating surprisingly not even the biggest gap between the Rockies and the Dodgers for a division. That goes to the Nationals because they're the Nationals this year. They have nothing.
Yep.
No, they traded their only two good pieces, so.
Well, we'll see if they get to 50 wins this year. It'll be a tough battle for the Nationals, but
where are they at? 42?
42 and 83.
No, they're not getting 50.
I give them 50.
Well, then. Moving on to college football, it is week 0 time. The truly most magical week of the year where No one knows anything. We're just trying to put all the pieces together. We're looking at the puzzle for the first time, trying to think about what even goes where and where do we even want to start. There's one clear game to start out with, though, at 11:30 a.m. Saturday on Fox. Nebraska takes on Northwestern in Europe at Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Nebraska, a 13.5-point favorite over the Wildcats, a battle of transfer quarterbacks. Casey Thompson for the Cornhuskers and Ryan Helinski for Northwestern. It is going to be a battle because these are two teams we really don't know a whole lot about yet this year, but Vegas seems to like Nebraska. They're a 13.5-point favorite in this game, over-under at 50.5. What can we expect from the first game of the college football season that people are going to actually care about? There's a game 30 minutes before, but I don't think people are going to be glued to their screen to see Austin Peay in Western Kentucky.
Really?
Unless you bet on the game, maybe.
The thing is with obviously we've kind of somewhat kept an eye on Nebraska and what they've been trying to do. It's like obviously looking at how they were last year, they just were a team that just could not win a game to save their life unless it was against a team that they pounded, which was only like 3 games. And then the rest of the time, it's like they always played close games with pretty much everybody, or at least with a couple remotely close. And they had shots to win games, to actually go 6-6 or whatever, but just never turned out that way. And obviously, you don't have a Martinez this year, but you obviously, like you said, we have Casey Thompson. It's gonna be interesting. It's like their whole thing is they gotta be able to take advantage of situations that their defense gives them, because their defense would make key stops and then the offense just doesn't do anything with it, turns the ball over, or they fail to convert a 4th down. So it's going to be interesting how they'll be. And then Northwestern, oh boy, they had a really bad 2021 season. After in 2020, didn't they go to the Big Ten title game in 2020, or was that not 19?
I was maybe 19 or 18.
Yeah, I think it was 19.
Okay, but they've ever since then they haven't really been that great, and last year was pretty bad for them, but they're looking for a rebound season. So I don't know as much about Northwestern, but I can say they'll at least try to improve what they did last year. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pick Nebraska in this game. I think they take it by double digits. I think they're just a better suited team. Like you said, Connor, they had a lot of tough breaks last year and a lot of those losses. I think they're going to come out different this year. Got a year of experience under their belt and everything. They played a lot of the close teams, a lot of the good teams close. So it showed that they're right there. It just takes another piece or two, and we'll see what happens this year. But I think they get out here to a good win. I don't know if you guys saw this, though. I'll see if I can find the picture on Twitter. But apparently, like, out there, because the game's in Dublin, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you guys saw where I'm going with this, but there's a sticker for – I forget what the word is over
Novice.
there. Yeah, but a lot on the stickers for beginning drivers, there's an N on all the cars, and they look like the Nebraska N. So it's like Dublin's got a lot of Nebraska fans this weekend.
I remember seeing
I'll see if I can find the picture here real quick.
I did see that on Twitter where I was like, hey, Nebraska fans, just gonna let you know, there are a lot of young drivers. These are not all Nebraska fans that have invaded Ireland. But I'm excited to see how this game goes. I really wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot like the Nebraska-Illinois game we saw last year to start the season, where Nebraska starts out completely slow. You might want to show the camera there the picture. If you want to zoom in, we can go full screen on the camera here. If you can zoom that in.
Yeah, I don't know if it's easier for you to put it over.
Yeah, it might be easier to just do that.
If you slide the picture, it shows the comparison.
Yeah, this is the car here, as you can clearly see. We slide the picture.
You have to.
There we go.
No,
There's another picture.
I got you.
Gosh darn it, Andrew. This is what happens.
It's the iPhones, right?
Yeah, this is what happens
Well,
when you have an iPhone.
Yeah, I was
because
zoomed in.
He zoomed in on it.
But yes, there's the N in store,
There we go.
and then the N on the helmet is right there.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, so not all Nebraska fans out there.
There you go. You got a lot of not Nebraska-looking fans in Ireland. Should be a good game, but I'm going to agree. I think Nebraska covers in this one.
Yeah.
I think they get the win. Northwestern's just not going to be up to par this year, and it's going to be a sigh of relief for Nebraska fans, actually getting a win under their belt to start the year. Because, man, if they lose this game, I don't know what's going to happen to them.
Are we thinking more high scoring or low scoring? I mean, I see the over-under at 50, but I think it'll be lower than that, to be honest. I think it's around like a 27-10 type game.
That's what I was kind of
thinking. What I was thinking.
I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up with one of those, 24-14, 24-17 type of games there if we don't cover. But for Nebraska, wins a win. Anything for them is a positive after what they had last year.
That's for sure.
But we're going to get into a few quick pick games here because I don't think we have a whole lot to say about some of these games. Wyoming and Illinois, the first one. DeVito officially going to be the quarterback that transfer from Syracuse, the starting quarterback for the Fighting Illini. They are an 11.5-point favorite over Wyoming, over-under of 44. So I guess the main thing here, over-under, which one are you going to take and who are you taking in this one? We going Vegas-wise.
Taking Illinois, I'll probably take the under on it.
That's good. That's a good number, 44. To be honest, that's tough. That's like right where I'd expect. I'll lean to the under, but I think Wyoming covers. In terms of the 11.5, I think that's a high spread. I'm looking at like a, I don't know, 2013 type game.
I could see that. I'm going to take Illinois to cover this one. I'm going to take the under as well. I could see one of those, 24-10 types of games, something along the lines here. Looking at the next one, Duquesne and Florida State. Did you know Duquesne had a football team? If you're from Pennsylvania, yes. If you're not from Pennsylvania, you're probably wondering, why in the world is there a team called Duquesne? Who are they? Please explain. But they play Florida State. ESPN gives Duquesne a 0.5 chance of winning, but Florida State did lose to Jacksonville State last year. They have lost to FCS teams before. It would not be the first time. It would not be the worst thing to happen in Florida State football history, but there's not even a spread for this game.
I'll see if I can find one here real quick.
So I will give you a prediction of does Florida State, I mean, I could make up a spread of give Florida State 30. 30. Do they cover that?
I'd hope so.
I would like that.
I would hope so too.
I would hope so because that's just there's no saving Florida State if they can't even do that. It's like
there's no saving them from the memes if they lose this game or if it's even close for 2 quarters.
Yeah, so I say Florida State doesn't really run into major issues with them. Their major issues if their offense just collapses. I don't think their defense is going to have that much problems. The only problem they'll have is that the defense is out there way too much.
That could absolutely be a problem, though. You never know. Duquesne might pull one of those 7-minute drives or something crazy.
True. Yeah, no, I think I mishope they make a big statement here. Right? Let's hope they keep it close. I mean, I think that's all you can really say. I'd expect Florida State to cover 30.
I would expect them to. I think we're all in agreement Florida State wins this game because if they don't, oh boy, we're going to have a fun show next week. Right? And then moving on to the next one, North Texas and UTEP. This game is actually kind of expected to be one of the more intriguing ones of the day. UTEP's expecting a sold-out crowd. They're a 1-point home underdog. 2 more evenly matched teams, over under 54.5. Can UTEP get the win at home to start the season off 1-0? Or does North Texas take it? Keep in mind, last year when they played in Denton, North Texas won 20-17.
Yeah, I'm going to take UTEP. I think they take this game at home. Like you said, big crowd going to be there Saturday night. I think it's going to be a fun atmosphere, a good game to start the season here. I mean, good test for both teams. I like UTEP. I think the 54 is a little bit high, though. I'm gonna take the under, but UTEP takes the win.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take UTEP, and I think I have to see. I'd probably take the under just a little bit, but I think it's gonna be a close game.
I think so too. I think we're all in agreement. Take the under. Take UTEP. That's what we're rolling with. Next one here. Interesting if you know the storyline. If you don't, I'm going to tell it to you. Jerry Kill is back as an official head coach. He was the interim coach for TCU last year for the last 4 games of the season. He is now the head coach at New Mexico State, trying to build that program. build upon their first bowl win they had a few seasons ago, keep them somewhat relevant, a contending team. They get Nevada. This is the first time New Mexico State's been on ESPN in a long time. That's a ESPN2 game, 9 o'clock our time, Central Time. It'll be 8 o'clock Mountain Time in Las Cruces. Going to be an interesting one. Aggies are a 9-point home underdog, Nevada a 9-point favorite, and an over-under at 50. So, Coach Kill back on the sideline. He was at Minnesota last decade from 2010 to 2015. Can he keep it close? Can he cover?
It's a good question. Yes, I'm gonna go. They cover. They cover at home. Give me the +9. I'll take the over 50 as well on that one. So I think I'm looking here. I'll take I'll say 31-24 type game.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'd just pretty much do New Mexico covers, but Nevada takes the win. And I think I'll probably take the over.
I'm going to take the under in this one. I am not really sold on either of these two teams. I think Nevada covers the spread. I think they get one of those, maybe 31-13 type wins or something like that. But the final one to talk about is the Hawaii test. What is the Hawaii test? If you can make it through this game at 9:30 start here for us, if you can make it through the last game of the night, it's almost always Hawaii. Congratulations. You win the prize of staying awake longer than 95% of people on a college football Saturday.
That's no challenge, especially on the first Saturday. I mean, come on. I expect everybody to be up watching that game.
Well, here's the thing. When we get to the 11:59 Central, because they can't technically start at midnight Sunday games, then it becomes a real challenge.
Well, hey, we're talking 9:30 now.
But we're talking about 9:30 for this first one. Vandy coming to town. The Commodores are an 8-point favorite in this one, and over-under a 53. So this is going to be one of the few times Vandy's favored this entire season. But can they do it? Can they go out there and win in Honolulu?
I was going to say, they better enjoy it. The last time they'll be favored, I don't know who else they're playing.
For a while.
But I was going to say, last time, we could get one of these easy games next week. But yeah, I was going to say, they better enjoy that -8 because they probably won't have too many opportunities there this year. I'll tell you what, 53 screams high to me for two mediocre teams, if you even call them mediocre. Yeah. That screams high to me. But, maybe the defenses are that bad. But so I'll take the under in this one. But I don't know, something about home teams. I'll take Vandy wins, but Hawaii covers the +8, 53. I'm looking at under 53 as well. I'm looking at maybe a 27-21 type game.
I feel like this is gonna. But for both teams gonna be mediocre. I get the feeling this is gonna be a weird high-scoring game for absolutely no reason. So I'm gonna pick the over, but I still pick Vandy to win, and I think they cover the spread. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. It's like Vandy should be better, because of the conference they're in. But we've obviously seen how Vandy's been the last decade. So. Yeah, but I pick Vandy to win.
I'm going to say Vandy gets this one. They cover in a 34-24 win that just creeps over the over, and Vandy gets the win. They cover, and that is really all we've got for today. Not a whole lot going on in the sports world. Unless there's any final thoughts either of you two have, that should wrap it up for today.
I just want the real week 1 to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We're only a week away here. Next Thursday, it all kicks off. It's going to be fun. It'll be fun. I think that's pretty much it. One thing we touched on last show, jumping back to NBA for a little bit. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Ben Simmons, according to the Nets, is probably going to play a lot of center this year. So that'd be an interesting dynamic. We were talking about that trio out there. So Simmons at the center will definitely be an interesting thing if it becomes a starting center. Just kind of touch on one quick topic from last show.
The whole thing is if he even actually plays.
Well, yeah, but I was just saying what they're playing is for him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the playing for him, if he's playing center, then my goodness, that's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Because what does that mean? Does that mean you're putting Durant at power forward then or something like that? What are you trying to do there?
Well, it depends. I forget. They still have Blake. Did he get hurt last year?
I believe he did.
So you'll probably go Kyrie at the 1, you go Seth at the 2, KD at the 3, Blake at the 4, and Simmons at the 5.
Yeah, I mean, you could roll with that. I'm just trying to think if they want a small ball lineup there.
If they're rolling that out, that other team better be ready to stop some fast breaks. That'll be a pretty good fast break team. I'll give them that one.
Yeah, they absolutely will be there. But that will officially do it for our show tonight. We thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you heard, feel free to give us a follow here on Twitch at NWTV7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether it be the NWTV7 channel or the Guys Who Stare at Stats. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at NWTV7 to get updates on when we go live. But our next show Tuesday is the official 1-year anniversary of the Guys Who Stare at Stats. You're not going to want to miss that. Going to be a fun show as we bring in the college football season. Going to be such a fun show. You're not going to want to miss it. Also, tonight at 10 o'clock, new time for the Bottom of the Barrel with my partner Josh Hinton. Going to watch a bad movie. Don't know yet. You can decide. We'll put an option up. Follow us on Twitter. You'll be able to pick what movie we watch. It has to be on Amazon Prime. But other than that, anything is possible. If it's a bad movie, we'll watch it. We'll suffer through it with you. And for Andrew Santangelo, for Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy. Until next time, have a wonderful weekend, everybody.